I love my 135i. I mean, it makes plenty of power, it shifts incredibly quick, and it handles decently well, but there's definitely some room for improvement in the handling department. So I did already throw on some XTA Coilovers to help with the body roll, and if you haven't already seen that video, definitely go check that out. But today I'm going to be doing basically the first step into making my 135i handle like an M car. From my research on forums, everybody says that the next necessary upgrade is M3 control arms. And if you weren't already aware, the 3 Series and the 1 Series have a lot of cross-compatible components. In fact, whenever they made the 1M, they used a ton of M3 components like the subframes, the control arms, the steering rack, the knuckles, pretty much everything, with a few exceptions, of course. But what this means for people like you and me that have a base 1 Series and want to upgrade is that all we have to do is just buy M3 stuff, which is really good because it's actually surprisingly cost effective and presents pretty good performance value. So as far as the way that the 135 feels in stock form, the steering input definitely could be more precise. And what I mean by that is that whenever you come away from center and start to input some steering angle into the front wheels, there's a little bit of a delay as far as whenever you feel the weight of the car start to shift. It's not quite like a dead zone, it's more so like just a softness. It's just very muted. But not like a dead zone due to the steering rack, but actually what I think it is the actual bushings that are just so soft that they aren't giving the response that's desired. Also, I noticed that around curves, if you're going over bumps, it's not the most confidence-inspiring ride, especially compared to my Fiat that I had, which that is the closest comparison that I truly do have to this car. And the way that that felt over bumps was just really light on its feet and just ready to dart any which way that you wanted it to. And with this car, you can tell, one, that it's heavier, but the way that it handles its weight is definitely just a little sloppy, and that probably has some to do with the fact that, you know, the car has 90,000 miles on it. And also, as far as bumps around corners, is the rear wanders a pretty good amount, but I don't think that'll actually be fixed with the control arms, because that is more than likely the rear subframe bushings that are causing that. So we'll get to that at a later video, but I am curious to see if the rear control arms at least help a little bit. So I went ahead and ordered a full set of M3 control arms from FCP Euro. And from what I can tell these days, you basically have 2 options, and that is either Melee HD or TRW. And TRW actually used to be the original OE manufacturer for BMW for these control arms. TRW was the recommended brand for a long time, but recently they actually changed their manufacturing location from Germany to Malaysia, and the quality of them went down a bit. And so now the Melee and the TRW control arms are basically the same. And the Melee comes with a much lower price. So I went ahead and went with the Melee M3 control arm kit, and it's an 11-piece kit. It retails for about 690 bucks on FCP. I cashed in on some of my oil change kits, so I paid about $430, which is really nice. And while these control arms are more inexpensive, of course, I was willing to take the chance because of the fact that it's FCP, got a lifetime warranty. So if something that does go wrong, then I can always ship it back, get my money back. So when it came to the removal of my stock control arms, it actually wasn't that difficult. I did have a little bit of difficulty with one of the ball joints because it was kind of seized onto the hub. So that took a little bit of heat, a little extra persuasion, but overall not that difficult. So I got the control arms out, and I'm not showing the whole process of how to take out the control arms and put them back in, because FCP made some really good videos, so I'll link those down in the description. But I just wanted to talk about the difference between the M3 and the stock control arms. So this is our tension strut. And as you can see, the actual dimensions of the two are the same. The only difference is the fact that this is a solid rubber bushing with a metal insert, obviously, and this is actually a fluid-filled bushing. And so the fluid-filled bushing really helps with NVH, but obviously has a good amount of play. Like, I can move this with my hand, and I'll show a video of how much I could move it while it was on the car. So that's going to really help with the handling whenever it comes to actually making the suspension really tight. And then with our lower control arm, different geometry to begin with, but also this ball joint right here is at a steeper angle, and the reason for that is because it's actually a little bit longer, and that extra angle is going to allow it to have a little bit more camber, so that'll help a little bit as far as handling goes, just with the car being a little bit more darty. And then also back here on the subframe side, the M3 control arm bushing is actually a ball joint, so that's going to allow it to smoothly move around and articulate. So one thing to keep in mind with the M3 control arm upgrade is the fact that the dimensions of the bushings do differ slightly. So on the stock one, I'm getting right at 76, so like 75.95. And then the M3 control arm, the bushing is 76.7 there actually. So what I'm going to need to do is shave off a little bit in order to get it to fit in the subframe itself. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so I got the rear arms off the car, and as you can see, huge difference between the M3 and the stock 135 control arms. So in addition to the fact that this is stamped sheet metal and this is cast aluminum, it used to be forged from the factory, but Melee casts these. We also have upgraded bushings, so we've got a solid rubber bushing here as opposed to the fluid filled, and then we actually have a spherical bushing in the subframe side of things. And these do have a specific way of going in the car, so I'll show you that. This is the shorter one, and it's going to go with the bearing side on the subframe and with the it kind of makes a smiley face, so like that. And then the upper, again, bearing side on the subframe side, but it's going to make a frowny face like that. Like so. And as you can see, these fit a lot better than the front, so no grinding required for the rear. The job is almost done, but I still need to go get a full alignment because my alignment is pretty out of whack.
So I might get a hard time for this, but I actually have been using Firestone as my main alignment shop, and the main reason for that is because they have a lifetime alignment program, so it's like $200, and you can take your car in for an alignment as often as you want, as many times as you want for the time that you own the vehicle. And I plan on owning this vehicle for a while, so it made sense for me to do that. And I actually paid less. I had like a discount, so I paid like $180. And this is actually my 6th alignment this year, just between all the different stuff that I've been doing with my suspension. Because every time I tweak it, you know, it needs an alignment. So I've really benefited from the lifetime alignment, and actually I've had a phenomenal experience with my local Firestone. So yeah, gonna get a quick alignment and hopefully don't have any issues, and we'll see how this thing drives. Kevin did me right.
All right, fresh alignment. Let's go for a test drive. Also, if you're wondering what I'm wearing, this is my ugly Christmas sweater. So there's that. So I'm on my way to my my little testing grounds, if you will. Just the roads kind of near my house that I'm familiar with. Have a few curves in them. And gonna see what they can do. So off the rip, I'll just say they are definitely much more taut. Like the bushings, you can just tell that it has a lot more control over what each wheel is doing, because the suspension travel is not nearly as much. Like I can tell that my coilovers aren't having to work as hard, and my wheels aren't actually coming up into the wheel well as much as they were, because those control arms are actually like holding things where they need to be. And while it is like a firmer ride, it's not like uncomfortable. It just feels more planted. So I'll probably be testing out some different settings with the coilovers and whatnot. But I'm just glad to have that option, because before I didn't feel like I had that option, because there was so much travel that I needed the coilovers to be pretty stiff. Oh my gosh, I mean, I feel invincible. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It feels so good. There's less body roll, first of all, which I wasn't really expecting body roll to decrease, because I already knocked out a lot of the body roll with the ST coilovers, but there is less body roll for sure. It's just flatter, and it almost feels like it's on its toes, you know what I mean? Like, it's not on its heels, like, oh, okay, but it's like on its toes, like ready to do what you're asking it to do. And as far as the rear end goes, actually, I'm surprised how different the rear end feels with the M3 control arms, because I was not really expecting it to make that much of a difference. But it is definitely holding the power back there a lot better than it was, because under power, especially if I was given any steering input, you could feel the back end kind of walk. However, there is this one curve that has some pretty massive dips in the middle of it that was pretty unsettling before, and I am very curious to see how it feels now with the new M3 control arms. So much better. It's like right here. Literally what it is capable of doing right now, it is 36 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm on summer tires, and I literally feel like I'm driving in the middle of summer. It's obviously so difficult to show you guys on camera, but I cannot stress to you guys enough that this is a worthwhile modification, 100%. I'm actually starting to wonder if I should have done this before coilovers. I feel like the coilovers was a Band-Aid, and this is like the real fix. So just a quick look at my alignment. I've got 1.8 degrees of camber in the rear, and actually I decided to go all the way down to 1 degree of camber in the front, because it really helps my fitment. And if I don't have to run 2 degrees, 2.5 degrees of camber in the front, I'd rather not. So yeah, really happy with how this came out. Really like the fitment now. Love the way it sits. It's starting to look and feel proper, y'all. I'm getting pumped. That wraps it up for this video. Super excited. Really just, I can't get over what a big difference it actually makes. So if you were on the fence about whether or not you would get M3 control arms for your BMW, do it, okay? Worth the time and effort and money, for that matter. And if this is something that you're thinking about doing, please feel free to ask any questions in the comments. because as you probably figured out by now, I love answering questions and just helping y'all out as you are going through the same things that I'm going through, just learning day by day, you know. So please feel free to ask questions. And again, I said it a couple videos ago, and I'll say it again. Thank you guys so much for continuing to reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook and email even. It has been so refreshing building a community around this platform. It's just so awesome to me that we all have something in common, and it's something that we're all so passionate about. So please continue to reach out to me. DM me on Instagram at Jason Joy Rides. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me, but the other ways do work as well. Thank you so much again just for being a part of my life and this channel, and Merry Christmas. Keep joyriding. I'll see you in the next one.